All right, quick look today. So far, pretty ugly as well. When we finished yesterday, we had a little bit of release. Left those highs, release into some of these lows here. Right, previous day's swing point. But really since then, just consolidating again. We will note that we did clear this low. Right, so this consolidation low here. We've picked that up. Opposing buy side would be here. We already cleared it here, but really this whole area, right? We're seeing all of these as relative equal highs for buy side. We would actually like to see if we can't target buy side here. So going off of pretty much previous price action. As we said, we did create the consolidation. We give that run lower, clear that sell side. Now we're pretty much consolidating near that sell side. We'd want to see it revert and at least run these highs here. So that's what we're going to look for this morning. Yeah, I like that. So we'll see if 10 o'clock can't get us back above our first presented from today. In the meantime, we will watch this inversion here. See if we can start respecting discounts leading into that. That's kind of what we would want to see. If we're going to go bullish, we want to start respecting discounts. Ideally get above first presented here. And then see if we can't run for some buy side targets. Cool. Let's see what we get this morning. Well, we do have this sell side marked here. This is a level that we don't need to get to. Because as we say, we've already delivered into it multiple times. Here, we pick up a short-term low. And then now we've actually picked up relative equal lows already. So from here, as we say, if we accelerate, we already respect the inversion nicely. We'll watch first presented to get inverted. Buy side is our objective. We actually have SMT at the lows as well. Let's bring up NQ. Let's have this low here relative to this low. Higher low, this low, and this low, lower low. So SMT potentially there as well. We like that. If we're going to look for longs off the opening here. See what it looks like on a 1 minute. Oh yeah, we respect that nicely. Okay. So I'm liking where we are in both. We're going to have a bullish bias this morning, and we'll look for that. We may want to come back into this here. Watch this here. This candle closes above. That'll lead us right into 10 o'clock. We might just hold and accelerate. We're trying to invert that before 10 o'clock. We could see just a huge up close candle run into that buy side immediately. Well, yep, all right. So buy side there is delivered. But that inversion play did end up holding nicely. From here, we'll see what we get. As we said, we want to actually see here even. So a little higher targets. If we're going to stay pretty aggressive, right, we could actually get through this new opening gap, which will allow us this first presented. But for the time being, let's see what we get here off the opening. Let's leave that. Cool. Okay. So I just want to see this other one we have as well. Yeah, and Q did leave yesterday's low, just barely. We cleared yesterday's low in ES though, so that's not too big of an issue. Yeah, here. This was yesterday's low here. If this would pop up. Yeah. 6696.25. This level here. Oh, we picked that up here. Overnight. And then we actually have done it a few times. Here as well, 6:30 this morning. We're waiting for closure above. We have a large run here, but in reality, we don't need, like, this is balanced. So we might try. This is more of an aggressive entry, not expecting the deeper retracement. We're going to try this morning if we can close above this buy side pool here. We're going to look to use that first presented, anchored to midpoint of our opening range. This will be first time we close above opening range midpoint as well. So we did that. We're going to go in early. We seem bullish, so we're going to try to just be involved. Stop loss will be under today's first presented. And as we say, I'm really looking at this whole range from this low to this high. That's a balanced price range right now. Where we create that range first, we can retrace all the way into the low, all the premiums. We move away just to its high. Everything in the lower half is rebalanced. We then create that high, break lower, right? So everything up here is now balanced. So as we leave this range, we may even just try to hold the high of that and not even give any deeper retracement. But ideally, we leave like this open. So we'd want this small fair value gap here to be left open. And I would also like to see this be left open. We'll allow price to return into it for our stop. But as we get into it, ideally, we would just hold this first presented here. We do have to be careful. But as we said, that high there is the bounce range. Notice how this candle perfectly delivers into that level. Once we close above it, next candle perfectly hits that. That may be all we need. So we'll watch this volume imbalance and see if that's going to try to hold price in here. And if we just slowly grind towards that buy side target. We did just hit the high of the opening range, so we can expect maybe a short-term swing point to form here that can get us our entry. And we'll try the high of that. Okay, enter there. See what we get. First entry of the day. NFP week this week, okay? So don't be like, if we're gonna get choppy again like yesterday, we won't be too surprised at that. See if we can hold here. If not, immediately we'll look for stop. As we said, that's kind of the last line of defense we want to see if we're going to stay bullish. If not, we might once again run into the old seeking the shore morning, right, where we just go back and forth, back and forth. We would have wanted to see this fair value gap. So notice that as we clear the buy side, we leave a fair value gap perfectly. Those are the discounts that we want to hold price, especially as we close above this swing point. So the fact that we negate that immediately, right, lets us know we're probably offsides. We're gonna have to continue to run lower. First loss this morning. So we're gonna expect the seek and destroy, right? We'll just expect, once again, ugly price delivery. We'll actually wait for that low. So we're back to the point where we're not gonna try to be middle of the range. We'll learn from yesterday, right? A lot of back and forth. We need to wait for the extremes of the range to be engaged with. Made an attempt to close above buy side and run, closing above first presented as well. Perfectly fine with that area for entry. Just failed, fell right through. We'll leave that up so we could see it. As far as in here, not much, right? We did have this small fair value gap that we spoke about this morning. That's what originally sent us higher. We'll see if we try to hold that. Same in NQ. So we may put an intermediate swing point here. Old liquidity in NQ. We left a liquidity void here. We'll see if we invert this. In the seek and destroy, if the objective is seek and destroy, we will try to hold this fair value gap. Right, so it's first presented as well as the bearish fair value gap. Notice this as well. Bullish inversion, turn bearish. So heavy premiums in this area. Now that we clear that buy side, as we say, if objective becomes this low, we should try to hold this fair value gap here until we deliver into our sell side. And honestly, we still think seek and destroy seems to be the objective. So if we clear all these lows, we'll look for another reversal. They're pretty much right smack dab in this range. Let's go low, highest high. Yeah, okay. So trading at equilibrium. Let's clear some of these up. This morning's first presented. If we're under that, that might just try to hold in the short term. So we could leave some of these areas. I'm gonna go with the turtle soup here. What is this level? We're gonna try that. Using yesterday's low as entry, so a daily level. Stop loss for us will be below this in higher time frame. With a higher time frame low should be protected. Okay. We're gonna try turtle soup here. As we said, yesterday's low. This one will actually be same risk. So the past 2 days we've cut our risk in half. Heading into NFP and noticing that the current market environment has been pretty sideways. So we're going to keep that same risk, but this will be nice. It will give us an opportunity. If we are on sides, we're going to try to add a position anyways. So we should be able to kind of scale into entries. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to target that. And our stop loss here, I was kind of just looking. So we have an hourly wick. That's this. We're looking at the midpoint of that wick. I'm saying I don't really want to see the midpoint anyways. So inside of that wick, right, I'm looking pretty much for this short-term low that's just below that. That's this one here. This low did clear this low, so in theory this should be a protected swing. But my thinking is that this low here, because we already engaged that liquidity, if we're going to be bullish, we shouldn't try to retest that low as well. So that's where our stop loss is. And then, as we said, I still want to see that buy side here. So we'll look for that. Oh, hey, jeez. I wouldn't mind leaving this open. If we could leave this open and we run this low, we could see at least a retracement into that inefficiency. That's what we'll look for there. So we said earlier, at that first percentage from today did hold price here. We are expecting the seek and destroy to continue. So the high, the low, the higher high, lower low, higher high. We want another lower low where we'll look to enter. And then we want to see from there the reversal. So we're pretty much expecting almost a repeat of what we had yesterday morning. Right, we had that seek and destroy as well. We had high, low, higher high, lower low, higher high. We made one more lower low, and then we accelerate. We'd like to see that play out again. And as we said, it doesn't even need to actually run all the way up here to be profitable. So if we can get our entry, we reverse, our first TP will actually be this liquidity void if we're going to leave that. Even if we don't, that's just a nice area to look for price to hesitate. So even now, if we do run up into there, we would want to see that be resistance. We did build that swing low, so currently this is an intermediate swing point here. Swing lows to the left and right. We're watching first presented. We want to see there if we're going to continue to hold. That would be the expectation. Currently NQ pretty much in the same spot. Right, I said it's the original liquidity. We have the intermediate swing point here as well. If we get above first presented, this is where we'll now watch for that to act as a discount. As we said, we're in the middle of the range here. So we're not going to be trying to throw in too many entries. Middle of the range and consolidating markets and seek and destroy like this are just low probability. So it's best to wait for the extremes of the range to be engaged. I mean, long term, we expect highs again. Like these highs here, that's just so clean. Even these highs here, right? And these. A lot of buy side being created. So as we said, we'll see if we start turning this into a failure swing. Closure above first presented. We're back inside opening range. We'll see if we want to hold from here. Opening range gap, another first presented as well, the weekly first presented from this week. If we close above first presented, we will look for those premiums to be disregarded, however. So we did end up coming right back into that small fair value gap. Right, bodies tell the story. We're going to leave this entry. We're not convinced yet that we're done with this sideways action here. If we run this high, we deliver into buy side without entry. Of course, we'll just move it. And then from there, we'd actually have to gauge, because this will be inside a new week opening gap. But if it gave us a shorting opportunity, I wouldn't mind trying that. Especially if we were to clear this consolidation here, right? We would look for a retracement back into opening range from today. No, bless me. So from here, if we're going to retest that liquidity void, we want to see if that's going to hold. Also looking at this fair value gap, just trying to see if we invert it. If we were to invert that, I also would expect us to just run straight into that buy side there. So we did just invert it. We opened with a bullish volume imbalance. If we're going to want to stay bullish, we should try to hold this inversion, leave the bullish volume imbalance open, close bullishly, and ideally close bullishly above this wick. This wick is hitting the original buy side liquidity. I wouldn't mind, honestly, from here, if we kind of created a swing point, come all the way back down to entry. We'll have some buy side now being engineered that we could target. But it seems more than likely that this fair value gap here will be the area of support. We invert this here, we'd want to see us run all the way back for this low. This is a spot where we'd actually want to see the discount hold if we're going to try to get into the buy side right away. We wouldn't want to see like this get inverted, us to actually fail to run this low, kind of sit around, right, go back up through it. If we start moving like that, it's just going to be a lot less likely in general. We'll expect more of a straight consolidation rather than seek and destroy. Seek and destroy, you'll still be able to get runs, right? That's the good thing about it, is that it moves sideways and can be confusing, but it'll still produce runs that you can capitalize on. Where consolidation's more so, you really just get stuck sideways. We close above this fair value gap with this candle. This fair value gap should be balanced, and we should see a run for this high there. If we close back above anyways. We did just get close. Sorry. So we did just get closure above that fair value gap here. As we said, this should be balanced now. We'd want to see this offer us support and accelerate, leave the volume imbalance open here. We did come back into first presented perfectly. Liquidity void as well. So as we said, this would need to be the final bullish run if we're going to try to create that buy side. Just closed above first presented as well. So yeah, from here we should just continue to push. Equal highs there, so the expectation is we should clear those highs. Maybe one more retest of first presented here. I don't mind the idea of this, but as we say, I just don't like being in the middle of the range personally, for me. It's always been an area where I just don't like to be entering. So we'll tape read something like this. If we're going to leave the equal highs, in my mind, this becomes kind of our line in the sand. We should try to hold first presented until we clear this buy side here. So like a true, let's say, protected swing low would be here. 1-to-1, nothing wrong with that. We could tape read something like that. So we'll see if we retest first presented. We should expect that to hold before this low gets taken out. You'll notice there's a very minuscule fair value gap right here. So on this most recent bullish leg, we did create a bullish fair value gap anchored to its midpoint. Notice they say the same exact midpoint. That's kind of what we're going to watch. Bodies can do the damage. We'll see what the wick does though. Body has to close. This could all just be a wick lower. You said this would be the real protected low if we were going to try to use this first presented as entry. So we follow that. Only invalidated if this low gets cleared, and we'll look for this buy side here now. Currently, once again, at equilibrium of the current dealing range, low to high. That's what we traded into perfectly there. So far, another sloppy opening. I'm looking at this little swing point here, this short-term low, and I'm noticing how this candlestick closes in that range. So as long as we can maintain that range, we'll look for the run higher. My expectation would be if we close below this level, however, we might actually need to create more of a bearish run using now this liquidity void as a premium. So kind of like we just had there. We closed under that low. We are able to still hold the fair value gap, but more than likely the next thing to go will be that fair value gap. And we'll slowly start disregarding some of these discounts and moving back down. As you said, I'm fine with that, especially if we leave these equal highs. These equal highs were getting stuck at the original buy side. That's something that we'll see quite often. Right, notice that the low and high of this liquidity is really what's holding, right? The wicks are going outside, but the bodies are still stuck inside of it. So I wouldn't mind, yeah, the retracement, leave some buy side here. Let's move that fair value gap, fall underneath, attack this low where we look to enter, and then look for the reversal from there. NQ pretty much still, once again, same spot. My NQ is not any cleaner this morning. Just sideways right at that original liquidity. I might have had even YM. I don't ever look. We can look at it since nothing else is good today. Yeah, that's brutal. Never mind. Why would we do that? Never look at YM. All right, closure below first presented. Let's see if that can hold us in the short term here. As you said, the last thing we'd really want to see is us to kind of just start moving up and down through this, because then we will expect more range-bound delivery. If we are going to do this, we would need to run bullish immediately. Right? This is kind of that signature where we close underneath a key level. The very next candle can negate it and close above. We should continue in the direction of the most recent candlestick. So if this candlestick closes above, it did not. So not, okay. So it closed above midpoint, which means midpoint here could look as support. Early indication we may want to run bullish here. If this candle would have actually closed above the liquidity void, we would expect bullishness a lot easier. So from here, we could still actually hold, go lower, right? Candle bodies are still holding the actual liquidity void as a premium. If we give that up with the body, then from there, we can actually look for the highs. But I wouldn't mind holding as a premium, clearing the low real quick, continue to break lower. Nice, nice. Don't mind that. It's good to run lower. Sitting right at 830 here. Once again, right at equilibrium as well. So hesitation at these levels is expected. Bring up equilibrium once again, just for good measure. So you guys can really see that, right? Again, right at that equilibrium, moving sideways. These are the lowest probability entries. When you're right at the middle of a range that is in seek and destroy. Because yeah, it can go up or it can go down. When we're in that type of situation, there's no shame in just waiting for price to do something. Interesting. We'll see if that stays open. We've tried that once already here, right? We opened with that volume imbalance right at the high. And we actually close at the same level. Interesting. Because it's this fair value gap. Algorithmic delivery. Beautiful. Market repeats over and over, right? Same exact thing. So yeah, right at equilibrium. We're about to get choppy here. We might run into 1030. Let's see, 1030 now. So that causes a little concern with our long entry turtle soup. As we often say, once we create the morning range, if we're going to break that range, price will try to move in that continued direction the remainder of the morning. So we would have ideally cleared this low before 1030 to leave, right, our entry as the low. Like if we look at yesterday, that gives us a good example pretty much of that. Right, this low was formed. Turtle soup happened before 1030 and then we started running. But once we actually broke through these lows after 1030, then we got a release a little bit lower. So yeah, we may just try to stay bullish. Look for that buy side up here. Especially with that closure like that. There goes NQ, leading the way. Can I put that on a 5 minute? There we go. That's better, okay. We've been holding that bearish fair value gap all morning. We get above that, we should release. In ES, we could watch something like this. No entries here, middle of the range, so this is where we just like to watch. But in my mind, this short-term low, like if this is going to be the bullish run, this low is protected here. Entry would be liquidity void. We're very sideways, however, so that's why we're not entering, because we could easily come right back down to equilibrium and just stay here. But it's always nice to try to follow price. So if we're going to release here following 1030, right, our morning range low has been put into place. Morning range high here. We leave that discount. It gets formed right at 1030, time-based PD array. So that really should hold us. That's the expectation. Time then price, we would expect that to try to hold to finish the run into buy side, leaving this low intact for the time being. And Q needs to clear this fair value gap to get some release. Which is very subpar, man. And because of that, we have no shame not taking entries once we start getting funky like this. We're not here to be right. Right back down, right? That's why we don't do nothing there. So once again, right back into equilibrium. So yeah, we are getting pretty ugly. This is not what we wanted to see, where we're just getting stuck right at the equilibrium. Because this turns into, right, just range-bound delivery. Like, we probably won't even want to clear this low or this high until around 11. Especially right now, if we go back up and through this first presented, from there it might be a wash. We need to see price starting to make a run for some of these lows. Right, it's leaving highs, which is good. So from this high, we left the equal highs. We then left another lower high. We don't mind that delivery because then it leaves buy side to target on the way back up. It's just a matter of us trying to release lower, right? We need to start getting lower. We don't want to just stay stuck here in this little area. We'll actually just use the low perfectly there. So we still expect previous days low. But just in case we get too perfect or something. Entry right on the low. So this bearish fair value gap, we want that to hold now. So we watch it this way. Once again, understanding middle of the range, lower probability. Still could follow these entries though. Purely based on the candlestick delivery. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Let's see if we can get that run. Just looking at potential opportunities. This is something I like to do, even if we're not taking them. It's almost like practice reps, right? To where we should hold from this premium until we at least clear that low. We have a rejection block here, so I'm almost simulating that. Right from first presented into rejection block. Premium to discount. Multiple failures to run out a high, indicating we don't want to clear the high quite yet, which is why we would expect first presented to hold bearish as we displace below that. The 1 minute SIBI, perfectly created, that's not random. They share the same exact level, and that's what we see being held there. So we did just pick up the short-term low. That's nice, but that could have been one target, 5 handles. We'll look for rejection block, and then we actually want to fall through that rejection block as well. So we're looking for turtle soup here. Sell side entry. This will be last entry today, regardless of what happens here with what time it is. I actually don't mind this because, what's this low? Yeah. So where NQ is currently, let's go to the 1 minute. It's pretty far away from that low here. So like if we can run out this low in ES, well, NQ only runs out this low, or maybe even better, doesn't run any low. That'll be a pretty good little SMT formation potentially. Both making a move for it. Let's see what happens as we clear that low and get entered here. So immediately we would want to see this candlestick close back inside of the range. Ideally holding this, right? If we close below, that's going to be more of price trying to actually leave this range, and that'll be pretty bearish. So we want this candlestick to wick back up and close below, or above, excuse me, this sell side. As we said, NQ only picked up this low, so that's pretty nice if we can reject from here. That's not too good actually. We would have wanted the swing low entry, we're not going to get it. Oh. Especially if we leave that, if that becomes a liquidity void right there. Discount through liquidities. Those are pretty good continuation patterns. So we'd want to see previous day's low hold with the body. Don't want to close below that. If we do, more than likely we'll come back for this low and some of these lower lows inside. There's the sell side right there in NQ. We'd like to see that try to hold now. Another, we leave the liquidity void open, another volume imbalance. This one would need to close. If we leave that open, we'll expect that run lower. We'll just start sliding. Right, we left that fair value gap anchored to the low. So that right there is pretty much the last thing we wanted to see. If we're going to try to create seek and destroy like this, when we clear lows, right, we like that we did close in that range, but leaving that premium fair value gap there is a no good for us. So what we would need to do is invert that pretty aggressively. As you see, NQ is trading into its most recent. If that holds at all and breaks lower, that's not going to be a good sign. We need to see this be inverted. That is what would then turn into a discount. But if we're offsides, that's going to hold as a premium and it'll send price straight into our stop loss. Because now this entire range from this low to this high is balanced, right? So we're expecting that if we're going to stay bearish, we won't really get a deep retracement into the balanced price range like this. If anything, we'll just see wicks and price will continue to sell off. So if we're going to hold like this, that's not what we're wanting to see. We want to see price willing to try to close back inside of this range, which should allow it to then deliver a little bit higher up into that. But currently, we are holding that fair value gap aggressively. See if we can't invert it. Inverting it, great sign for us there. And because we did get a pretty nice entry, right? 5 handles for us will be easy partial. I'd like to try to at least get to first presented here. That'll cover losses this morning. So we'll hold here. We'll look to partial at first presented. That'll cover losses. From there we go break even, which will allow us to have a risk-free trade. This would need to hold. We cannot get back below this inversion now. Matter of fact, I like that actually. We're going to try to buy one more there. We should have used midpoint. As we said, if we're on sides, it'll give us another opportunity. PD array matrix. So usually you're going to go smart money reversal. Then you're going to get your inversion. Then you'll get your order block. We'll bind one inside there. So we'll look to add one more. And then we'll actually cut our stop just a bit to here. So same risk while adding another contract. And Q delivered right back into that fair value gap. So from here, we want to get inside of that. We want this to hold, and for this discount, this premium to be invalidated. Notice we have not closed above it one time. So if we can accelerate through midpoint, that'll be pretty good for us. ES struggling a little bit more than NQ at the moment. We need to get back above this inversion here. We don't want to, if we close back below sell side, that's going to be a bad sign for us. That needs to be a swing low, ideally. We'd want to see this being no wick to the downside, acceleration outside of the inversion. Cool and all, but long time till this candlestick closes, so don't get hopes up. It's all about closure here. You know, with how we're moving, we're gonna go 2 there. So we'll look to actually secure profits this morning. We get here, we secure profits, we run up to break even. We'll put it right below this low, so pretty much break even. That way, if we get stopped, we'll end the day in profit. I just think this will be a pretty hard area to get through. So if we can get there, we're gonna take what it gives us. If we accelerate through that, we can then hold for the final buy side. Maybe we target this high. We should clear this high. That's only one hit. No, we're not doing that. That's a little greedy. That's silly. Make money, be content. 830 levels right there too. So yeah, I like first presented. Just in case 830 tries to do some wonky stuff and hold price with the wick or something like that. And leave equal highs there. We've seen that. Just like this. Right? We could leave perfect equal highs there. And not actually get into midpoint of the first presented. But so far, everything's looking good for us. That's what we want to see here in NQ, as we said. Hold the discount, invalidate the premium, close above midpoint. We want to see midpoint be respected now. Less than a handle away from partial here. This is where you just commit to it getting hit. And if it misses, that's trading for you. Imagine it doesn't get there though. Should hit here in the next candle. If we leave that fair value gap open, the next candle will run into it. Perfect, just like that. Cool. So from here, boom, we take all risk out. Risk-free trade with profit secured. Made back the loss for the morning. Perfect. And now we're risk-free and chilling. So we'll actually just target this high here. This is a good buy side, but we'll target morning range high so far. As you said, this is pretty much the reversal area. That's why we're closing there. If price is going to break lower, it's going to break lower from here. If we run out another short-term swing point, so this one here, we'll use our stop loss as partial because we only have one contract left. We'll jam our stop all the way pretty much under whatever swing low gets formed here. So I'm guessing some type of swing low will get formed as we hesitate inside first presented. We then should see it accelerate through and target a high. So we'll use the most recently formed swing low. Ideally, it doesn't even, like, we just trade through that, right? That's the best case for us, is that we want to see premiums be disregarded fully. So like, this is perfect. If we can just accelerate right through this fair value gap and give no real regard for it, then we're fine letting that run, because we should just accelerate straight into the buy side. Just like that. That's beautiful. So to be honest, because of that already, we're securing more profits like that right there. What's 5 handles? We might even just go 5 handles and call it. We'll wait. So as we said, if we clear equal highs, we're going to move our exit to 5 handles. So secure us another 5 handles at least. But we should clear these equal highs too. Let's buy side there. Double buy side targets. That's aggressive. We might actually want to come up here. Let's do it. I'm fine being a little more greedy this morning. With this huge displacement, right, that leads me to believe leaving fair value gaps open, that's a sign of bullishness. If this bullish volume imbalance stays open, we're definitely going to target this here. Yeah, if that stays open, that's going to be another sign of bullishness, leaving a large fair value gap. So we'll target the actual external range, and we'll get out just before it at new week opening gap there. We want this to stay open because that's our first presented as well. So I've had these off, but right, this is up on another screen. That's why I'm saying I want this volume imbalance to stay open, because if it does, then we'll be closing above this week's first presented fair value gap, which will be good for us. But it looks like it's going to want to close itself in. We'll leave the final exit, however. That's fine. Left a large fair value gap, so we'll see if we just can't keep accelerating. Partial secured, stop and profit. We get a retracement into this, that should hold an NQ. First presented needs to hold an ES now. Once again, equal highs here. Notice that. So even on this run, in reality, we still have not put in a higher high from this high here. So morning range high, lower equal highs, lower high. Once again, another equal high. We should blast the roof off of these highs, in my opinion here. If this candlestick becomes a swing low, we should see large inbound or large candlesticks coming. So yeah, if this stays as a swing low and this creates no wick to the downside, we will expect the next few candlesticks to run into buy side here. And we'd look for the large bullish candles, pretty much like this, this, or this. Oofta. Closure underneath first presented. Look for stop. Once again, this becomes line in the sand for us. NQ, I want to see NQ clear a high again. Continue to push up there. So we're still waiting for a swing low. So we said if any swing low forms inside of this bullish fair value gap, we would want that swing low to be protected. So like if this becomes a swing low, we'd want the next candles to start running bullish and target the equal highs. We wouldn't want to form a swing low and then attack that swing low. So the low did get created, but it looks like we're going to come right for that. So yeah, we're going to get a little ugly here. Ideally, we leave that low and just try to go bullish. That low was created just above first presented, so we can run that low and hold first presented still. If it was created inside first presented, that'd be a different story. It's like now, if this one does become a swing low, ideally we don't see that being breached. This would want to be, or do you want this to be the sensitive area that then accelerates, catapults price higher? 10:50 to 11:10 macro time. So we'll let that macro play out. If we get to 11:10 and we're still just kind of range bound, we'll just manually close. But ideally, we continue to pump. We get into one of these highs, as we say, whatever swing low gets formed in here will be our new stop loss. So if this becomes a swing low, that needs to be protected. Nope, once again, all right. So still just grinding lower, 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 lower. I will say this type of delivery creates very low resistance liquidity runs higher. So I'm not too worried about the delivery we've been getting lower. Right, notice how every single candlestick, its high has not been broken. So that's different from even creating actual swing points. Right, because now each one of these candlesticks high, in theory, can be seen as a very small buy-side pull on a lower time frame. So as we continue to kind of print lower like that, we can rip the face right off of all these candlesticks pretty much. Perfect delivery into the low there. Honestly, for symmetrical purposes, for price action delivery, that should be the swing low. I don't want to see that low continue to, like if we continue to just slowly grind and attack lows, that's not going to be good. This needs to be pretty much it. Perfectly into the low of the first presented. From here, we'd want to see the acceleration away now. And as we said, target all of these highs that we've created there. Should be able to run those pretty easy. It should be a low resistance liquidity run. Large up close candle, just like this candlestick. That runs right through all of that. Yep, perfect. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so as we said, we clear that high stop. This will be our stop. That needs to be the protected swing point there. If we engage that, we did. So no hesitation moving that. Boom. Sweet. So we've been able to secure more profits. If we get stopped from here, we could care less. All right. What is that? It's about 6 or 7 handle stop loss. Yep, over 7 handles. So in reality, that's a win. Win-win here all the way around, no matter what happens. This here is simply just the cherry on top, right? Extra profits. Not too worried about this. We've seen it where it comes one tick away from stop and runs against us. So, right, we're going to rely on structure. And this low should be protected if we're truly going to try to target some buy side here. We've just immediately rebalanced. So if that's going to be the case, next candle should run bullish. If not, we get stopped. That's fine. We call it a day in profit. So from here, we need to see straight bullishness, right? Immediate rebalance. We should not gravitate towards the low where our stop loss is. Ideally, we shouldn't even retest the first presented fair value gap. We should just go bullish. Close in the bearish volume imbalance that we've opened with. And ideally, no wick to the downside. all bullishness. Oh, there's the wick. Okay. So because of that, that leads me to believe first presented may actually need to be tested. And if anything, we'll have to run out this low after clearing these relative equal highs here. But still have a chance. Wait for the candle closure. We close in the volume imbalances, we still got a chance to run for the buy side there. And it's going to stay, moment of truth. We close it. All right. We need to run from here. We're going to target the buy side. Where's the most beautiful places? Still got 10 minutes left in this macro, so we're still waiting for that. We're getting the delivery we want to see. As we said, ever since we've immediately rebalanced, this wick is the new discount that we should hold. So we're watching this wick. We don't want first presented to be retested. First wick should hold, and we should just continue to push. If we run out this high here, we're going to put our stop loss. Nah, we'll leave it, I think, actually, where we are now. Opening range gap 714 as well, or 6714. I'll see, yep, that is juicy. Yeah, I like it. We should gravitate up in there. The one bad thing is we're getting stuck at a first presented here. Right, this one. I don't like that. I don't like that we closed above it and immediately closed back inside of that range. That's why I'm saying I don't want to see this one being used, because we should just use the higher one. And from there, pump right into the buy side. Yes, beautiful. Equal highs. Let's run out those equal highs and get us out. We need the magnet. Where's the magnet? Magnet. There it is. Now we're good. It'll come here. Y'all know the magnet works every time. Magnet never failed us. Right on the target. That's why I've got to move it right on the target. There we go. Target plus magnet equals instant TP. This candlestick. Do it. It wants to. This candle. 5 seconds. 4. 1 second. Oh, all right. This candle. There it is. There it is. Never a doubt. Oh my, that's beautiful. All right, we're done. Cool. That's actually a beautiful run right there. Wow. Look at the dead center in the magnet. You're telling me magnet. Oh my. Oh, we gotta leave that. Hold up. We gotta get the swing high exit. Give me the swing high exit as well. One more minute, and then we'll bounce. Yeah, we do still have the ultimate buy side higher, 67.16. That was our full objective. So if we do go that high, that's fine. Personally, we would just like to see the swing high be formed here. For aesthetic reasons, you know how we be. Pretty much had the low to the high, that whole move there. Wait for it, wait for it. Oh yeah. All right, fellas. Well, if you got no questions or nothing, we'll leave it there. That's so pretty. Never gets old, to be honest. So early on, a little recap. Right, we had the idea that we're going to be bullish. We wanted to see this high be cleared. We wanted to get this high, but that's fine. Regardless, we were expecting this high here to be cleared. As we retrace, we try to get in early using the first presented to get a release into the high. Instead, we notice that we're probably going to run into seek and destroy just like yesterday. So as soon as that occurs, right, our attention switches to entering on liquidity and not continuation patterns. So we understand that this low here, just above previous day's low, should be a nice area to turtle soup. As we run out that area, we get entered on the soup. We revisit yesterday's low just as we expect, leaving a bearish fair value gap. And then we invert that beautifully, pretty much right, setting into motion that final release. Once we inverted that, we spoke about how when we turtle soup, it'll give you another opportunity to stack entries once we create an inversion. And that's what we entered on. So as we see the inversion being created, that's exactly what we would expect after clearing liquidity. No hesitation to enter on that. So as we were tracing the inversion, we go ahead and get long, stop loss below the most recently formed swing low. And then the exit becomes the opposing buy side up here. Right, so this is the low, this is the high. We clear the low, we target the opposing high. Beautiful delivery there overall. And we ended up partialing at a logical area, first presented. So we could have stacked again inside of this, right? We expected that to hold, but we were fine with just letting it run. And then eventually we exit on that swing high. So beautiful trade there to make up for the quick loss this morning. And something like that makes up for the losses as well yesterday. Right, that's why we're never worried about taking losing trades or even losing days. Over time, we've proven to ourselves time and time again, right, that the profits will outweigh the losers. So you just commit to the analysis and continue to execute. So we'll leave you guys there for now. Tomorrow we have, let's see what we got for tomorrow. More high impact news again. We love it. 10 o'clock as well. So same start time tomorrow. We'll be here 9:50, 9:55-ish. Just before 10 o'clock news. And we'll see what we get tomorrow as well. So until then, hope you guys found this helpful. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Stay safe, and we will talk tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody.